the media or people wouldn't talk about it, we wouldn't even be thinking about it, truthfully.
What do you think, Coach? Should the Steelers be concerned that he hasn't shown up yet?
Well, at this point, Ben makes a valid point. They've operated so long without him, and there's been so much. Is he coming this week? Is he coming that week? It just gets old. Like they're worried about taking care of their injuries. They're worried about the next opponent. Life has moved on, so they've got to a functioning level. In terms of when he is going to show up or not going to show up, ideally it's as soon as possible. And I had a much harder stance until I went back and looked at his numbers last year. And look, the guy touched the ball 400 times last year for the Steelers. So at this point, we know he's done after the season. We know it's probably going to be an 8-game or 6-game, depending on what it is, relationship. What can he do as a coaching staff to try to maximize his contribution, knowing that it's going to be a very limited window? The frustrating thing is he going to come in and potentially get one of those hamstrings that are hard to diagnose, or what guy are you going to get when he comes in? That to me would be my bigger concern than when he actually comes in. It's what's our plan when he comes in, and what are we really getting when he does come back?
I was talking to Andrew Filipponi in Pittsburgh yesterday, who's been on this story and covered it as well as anybody in the local media. And he raised to me what I thought was a really interesting question that I had not even considered, which is, at this point, why would he show up at all? And the answer most of us have is, well, you got to show up by week 10, or else the contract year doesn't toll. But the point he made that made me think about it. So he's not under contract. It's not like a Dwayne Brown situation last year with the Texans, where if he never shows up, then the contract he doesn't like just rolls over to the next year. He's not a player that's waiting to hit to where he can be a true free agent. He's been in the league long enough. All that not showing up means is Pittsburgh could do this again. They could franchise him next year, and it would still just be the second franchise tag. But does anyone here think Pittsburgh wants to go through this again? That Pittsburgh next year wants $14.5 million of their cap to be dedicated to him, to let him run them through this whole rigmarole again? Like, I now believe it's possible he doesn't have no week 10 deadline. He has no deadline. That he might sit out the entire season, dare Pittsburgh to franchise him again. I think organizationally, they would be hard-pressed to do that. And then he hits true free agency, which is what he has wanted to do the entire time. Like, we've imposed this week 10 deadline because in the past, that's about a guy under contract, like when it was Cam Chancellor, when he held out for a couple games. When Earl Thomas, we thought he might hold out because if you don't show up by week 10, the contract rolls over. With Le'Veon Bell, it's a different situation. I think it's possible he never shows up.
I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted talking about him. I'm exhausted talking about his contract. I'm going to try to. I got a job to do, but I'm going to try to talk about the players who want to play and the players who are there. All right? And not talk about the players. I don't know what he's going to do. I've never seen a situation like this, and there is going to be a conflict when he shows up, because his commitment to playing football and the commitment that we typically make to each other, he can't stay true to form in holding out and then show up on that day and say, I'm signing up for what everyone else is signing up for. And if you were signing up for what everyone else is signed up for, you would have been here. I do understand the 400 carries. I do understand every person is in business for himself. But you have established a brotherhood. You're not a new guy coming into the league. It's not like we got you from some other league and you don't have existing relationships. Like, I understand that, but those relationships, they do mean something. And I would have told some of those guys who their careers and their livelihoods were depending on one of their best player being there. I would have told them, and they would know. The public might not know, but the guys who I had played with and made a commitment to, they would know what I was going to do. So he's got me to the point, Jenna, like you, I'm exhausted, don't know what he's going to do. I don't know what his next move is going to. Maybe he's playing chess, and I've just been playing checkers for the last 35 years.
Just to respond to your point, Nick, if he doesn't show up at all and the Steelers have the right, you're still betting that the Steelers won't make that option or won't exercise that option. I would imagine they'd exercise that option out of principle. You want to do this to us, and this is where
that's a bit of cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Yes,
yeah, but I'm going to tell you something. But I'm not going to do you any favors.
Right, and
if you're the Steelers,
organizationally, we talked about this with other players. you have to stand for something, and you've got to draw a line in the sand at some point and say that you're not going to do this to us. You don't do this to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And does he really want to take that chance? Now, if he does come back, there are going to be issues with the people that he had long-term relationships with, friendships with, whose everybody's life depends on this, and you got to make the best out of a bad situation and look at him as, all right, this is a hired gun that maybe we can get something out of that can help us where we want to get to, but it's never going to be the same from a relationship standpoint.
I just want to ask you real quick, because you mentioned the soft tissue injuries potential, like a hamstring injury. We've seen guys who just missed training camp are more susceptible, we know the numbers, to one of those soft tissue injuries. He's now missed training camp first half of the season. If he suffers one of those injuries, do you think guys in the locker room are going to question, going to doubt, can you play through it? Like, how bad is this really? If it's a broken bone, it's one thing. But one of those injuries that's about how you feel, whether or not something tightens up on you on game day, is that something he's going to have to deal with if he shows up?
Yeah, well, of course, everybody's going to look at it, and it puts everybody in such a bad spot. Someone's going to lose their job when he shows up. Someone who's on that roster right now is going to get cut and has to go home. That's going to affect someone's life. And then you're going to come back, and if he decides not to practice, that puts more reps on other guys because you lost the player that you cut. If he decides late in the week not to play, all that preparation that could have gone to another back, that affects guys. The general distraction of him being there and everybody guessing whether his injury is real or not real, it's a different type of Odell Beckham distraction, but it's a distraction, and it takes away from what they're trying to do, which is win a Super Bowl with a collection of talent that they can't keep together that much longer.
We should mention that James Conner, who's been playing because Lev Bell is out, actually has more yards this year than L. Bell did last year through 6 games.
And James Conner's been excellent through the first 6 games.
He's
had
really
3
stepped up,
good
and
games.
the team's really used him. All right, Coach, thanks so much for joining us. Much appreciated. Coming up, does Tom Brady have a new #1 target? Tarjay, next on First Things First.
Tarjay is